Activision Blizzard's bootlicking department has been working overtime lately in an attempt to justify the obscene amount of money made by one of America's most overpaid CEOs, Bobby Kotick. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick is one of the richest men in entertainment media. We're not just talking video games, he's one of the richest men. He's one of America's most overpaid CEOs, as we just said, and again, that's not just video games we're talking. He's one of the most overpaid CEOs in America. Period. He quote-unquote earns 306 times more than the average Activision employee. And in 2019, he was paid over $30 million. Over $30 million. Such an extreme, such a farcical, such an absurd amount of money that even one of the shareholders thinks he might be making a little too much. At this point, it should be noted that in 2019, the year that Robert Kotick made over $30 million, Activision Blizzard laid off about 8% of its staff. Around 800 people whose combined salaries wouldn't put so much as a fraction of a percentage of a dent in the sheer mountain of fucking money that Bobby Kotick scurried away from 2019, clutching between his shit-drenched hooves. CtW Investment Group director Dieter Weitznegger wants other shareholders to go against the say-on-pay proposal that would throw even more money at a man who's currently making way too much fucking money. The filing paints Activision as a place designed almost entirely to make Bobby Kotick rich, which I'm sure is how Bobby Kotick sees things as well, but he wouldn't put that in a filing with the US government. Leading proxy voting advisor Institutional Shareholder Services has recommended a vote against the management say-on-pay proposal for fiscal 2019. ISS, along with Glass Lewis, recommend against Activision Blizzard's MSOP every year from 2012 to 2017. Despite repeated low approval rates from shareholders, Activision Blizzard maintains multiple overlapping opportunities for its CEO to earn outsized equity awards, even when performance-related vesting thresholds have not been met. Despite failing to disclose pertinent information on performance targets for its short-term incentive plan, Activision Blizzard's proxy statement revealed significant human capital management challenges. Disclosure surrounding the strategic objectives portion is severely lacking and merely cites attracting, retaining, and motivating top talent, cultivating new business opportunities and expanding existing ones, delivering production and development milestones and increasing productivity, said Weitznegger. We note that 3 of these objectives are clearly related to human capital management and that Kotick's apparent failure to achieve more than half of the targeted performance strongly suggests that Activision Blizzard's skewed approach to human capital management, lavishing multi-million-dollar awards on the CEO as employees face layoffs, needs to be addressed before it manifests in deeper operational problems. Now, I said a moment ago that Activision's bootlicking department has been working overtime, and yes, it has. Here's what a spokesperson for Activision Blizzard said regarding this situation. During Mr. Kotick's tenure, which is the longest of any CEO of a public technology company, fuck off, Activision Blizzard's market capitalization has increased from less than $10 million to over $53 billion. In the last 5 years, Activision Blizzard's share price has outperformed the S&P 500 by more than 120%, and over the past 20 years, under Mr. Kotick's leadership, Activision Blizzard's share price has outperformed the S&P 500 by over 11,000%. Over 90% of Mr. Kotick's proxy-reported compensation is performance-based, and he has delivered exceptional value for Activision Blizzard stockholders. Our equity dilution rates remain among the lowest of our peer group. A lot of that boils down to Activision made a lot of money, so Bobby Kotick should make a lot of money as well, and I'm sure some people will be fine with that. Unfortunately, the amount of money we're talking here, the amount that Activision makes and the amount that Bobby already has, is so extreme, so cartoonish, that no ordinary human should be able to relate. In fact, the person who made that statement probably earns hundreds of times less than Bobby Kotick has in his pocket right now. And of course, the way a lot of that money is made and retained is itself problematic. Layoffs as a casual money-saving device is one such problem. And on a personal note, I'd like to remind you that the billions of dollars that Activision Blizzard makes routinely comes from digital economies designed to exploit addiction and problem gambling, economies that should themselves be illegal, and in places where they're not, they remain highly immoral. But listen to me going on. The long and the short of that is, Bobby Kotick seems to make extreme amounts of money regardless of whether he's good at his job. And at this point, I want to take Dieter and any other surprised shareholders aside and say, hey, bud, Welcome to capitalism? Of course, the reasons for calling Bobby Kotick out in this particular instance are not selfless on the part of any shareholders doing it. It's not like they want anything useful done with the money, they just don't want all of it in Bobby's pockets. Bobby's pockets. Bobby Pockets, Bobby Pockets. He's a brand new character, and he's a crook. He's a crook. Bobby's a crook. Regardless of motives, this filing is nonetheless delicious. Activision Blizzard finds multiple ways to unnecessarily enrich its CEO. You don't fucking say. Over the past 4 years, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick has received over $20 million in combined stock option equity per year. I said stock option. The hell is wrong with me this morning? These equity grants have consistently been larger than the total pay, the sum of base salary, annual bonus and equity pay, of CEO peers at similar companies. Specifically, over the past 4 years, Kotick has received $96.5 million cumulatively in combined stock option awards alone. In just 2019, he received over $28 million in combined equity, primarily consisting of options, over $20 million, that are substantially in the money. While equity grants that exceed the total pay of peer companies would be objectionable in most circumstances, it is of special concern in this case because Activision Blizzard employees face job insecurity following layoffs of 800 employees in 2019 and typically earn less than 1/3 of 1% of the CEO's earnings, with some employees, such as junior developers, making less than $40,000 a year while living in high-cost areas such as Southern California. Southern California may be where a lot of Activision Blizzard workers live, but that's not where Activision Blizzard's games come from, of course. No, they come from Holland, a small empty basement in Holland, because it's a fucking tax haven. You won't see that bit mentioned in this filing. Kotick's employment agreement with Activision Blizzard contains multiple overlapping award provisions. One such provision is the shareholder value creation incentive, which allows most equity awards granted to Kotick in 2017, 2018 or 2019 that are outstanding to immediately vest at maximum performance. Fucking hell. Plus an accelerated payment within 120 days of any annual equity grants remaining to be made through 2021, also assuming maximum performance.
If at any time prior to December 31st, 2021, the average closing price of Activision Blizzard shares exceeds 2 times the average closing price during the fourth quarter of 2016 for 19 consecutive trading days, i.e. increasing from $39.98 to $79.96 per share.
Whew. While doubling the company's stock price is a laudable goal, the achievement does not justify such generous rewards. An equity award scheme that allows multiple bites at the apple for past unearned equity, as well as acceleration of equity that hasn't yet vested, is antithetical to pay for performance. Indeed, this isn't pay for performance, this is pay in spite of performance. Which, if we're being honest, is how a lot of executives, chief or otherwise, make their money. But Activision Blizzard has done what so many game publishers do when given half a chance. They've taken the absolute fucking piss. Bear in mind, all these bonuses for executives already take the fucking piss. A bunch of rich fucking wankers awarding themselves bonus prizes for the success of work done not by them, but by people paid hundreds of times less, who will never see any of this bonus money, and are in all likelihood staring down the barrel of layoffs despite record revenue, so these executives can keep their profits up without once having to consider the alien blasphemous notion of maybe not just giving themselves millions of dollars for fucking fuck all. These opportunistic, hack fraud, criminal bastards who award themselves all of this money and face no accountability for their lazy, greedy, complacent, unethical bullshit, except when that accountability comes in the form of complaints from other rich fuckers. Last year, in the wake of those 800 layoffs in spite of record revenue for Activision Blizzard, I said that we should fire Bobby Kotick. Or I should say they should fire Bobby Kotick. It's not like any of us will ever get to make a decision. I argued that the layoffs are a sign of a failure of management, which they are. They're a complete failure of management, and that as the head of that management, as the man allegedly responsible for the company, Bobby should fucking pay. Oh, and don't worry, his pay did fall in 2019, going from $30.8 million to $30.1 million. After letting his company down, after letting his staff down, after said staff had already faced months of worry and job insecurity, a man with a net worth of $7 billion walked away with another $30 million in his pocket. Not $1 of which he needs, because he's a billionaire, okay? He's a billionaire. He has multiple billions of dollars. This is more money than almost any human can actually comprehend effectively. There are countless mental exercises and visual aids available online to help people try and visualize and conceptualize $1 billion, because it is such a vast fucking amount of money. So much money, none of us could realistically spend $1 billion. Once you have $1 billion, you don't need anything. You're done, you're good. You've won. Bobby Kotick could have taken not one thin dime last year and still would have been a billionaire. He wouldn't have felt it. And I need you to consider that. I need you to conceptualize that. He's so rich. He could have turned down that $30 million and effectively would have remained just as rich. That's what kind of drop in the ocean $30 million is to a man with billions of dollars. And he jettisoned 8% of his staff. And he took that $30 million he didn't need. And that's why the very existence of billionaires themselves is unethical. Just straight up fucking unethical. Bobby Kotick, on his own, could have saved every job. And on top of that, he could have funded several games on his own. And still these days, I am told by people that companies like Activision Blizzard need all of this monetization, need to charge so much for every little aspect of a game, because making games is so expensive, and a company like Activision, which makes billions and billions of dollars on its own, while being led by a CEO who himself has billions of dollars, I'm expected to believe that these companies are so fucking poor. I'm told that games need to aggressively, predatorially monetize because developers therefore get to keep their jobs. But then the layoffs happen, proving that that's bullshit, and I'm told the layoffs themselves are necessary as well, because where else will the money come from? Surely not the back of Robert Kotick's fucking couch. Activision Blizzard doesn't exist to publish games, it exists to make a small group of already rich people richer. Because despite what it tells the tax collector, Activision is American, damn it! And this is what America is all about. Well, that and systemic racism.